So I'd like to welcome you to the Adversity Advantage podcast, where we will help you use obstacles, failures, and setbacks to give you that edge needed for success. I'll be interviewing people from all walks of life on how they overcame trials and turned them into triumphs. So please sit back, relax, and get ready to be absolutely blown away by some of the wisdom and stories you're about to hear.
Chris, man, thank you so much for hopping on.
Hey, Doug, what's going on, man? The first day of the NFL, the first day I was actually back at the gym this morning as well. So I'm actually feeling really good, man.
Yeah, man, I bet. And, first day of the NFL, we're recording, it's Thursday. So I got to ask, I'm sure everybody asks you this. Did you know that your bro was going to come out of retirement and go back to Tampa Bay?
He killed me with that, man. I got asked that question by TMZ the week before or the month before. And they were like, so, what would happen if your brother came back? I was like, man, I'd be shocked. I don't think that's happening because, man, when I left the NFL, it was just such a stress relief, man. Like, it's such a grind. And once it's over, it's so hard to go back. You're out of that zone. You're out of that mindset. And you're living a good life, man. He's making a ton of money. Like, he's making just as much outside of football. And it's like, that world is not easy. Playing in the NFL, it's not a game, man. It's a job, and it's a hard job, and it's a super stressful job as well. So, man, he's still young, and I guess when you're still the best at what you do, it's very hard to walk away from it. And so, man, if that fire is still there, you'd always have that what if, right? If you didn't go back. So I think that's why he did it, and I'm pumped, man. I think they're going to crush it this year.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting for sure to see how him and little Tommy do without Belichick, right? And just seeing was it Belichick, was it Brady? I mean, I'm not saying that they all didn't have their gifts, but you hear a lot of people say that Belichick's the reason the Patriots won. Then you hear Brady, then you hear your brother. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is, why do you think that the players, their career is so short in the NFL? I mean, obviously your brother has made it through numerous concussions and has won multiple Super Bowls and got all kinds of accolades, and then Brady. But, you were kind of only in the NFL for a few years, and you're not the only one. The average career is like 3 years, something like that?
It's 2.5. So it's like that on purpose. You get pension, you get all the benefits at 3. So you get vested at 3 years. And so the average is 2.5 is what it comes down to. And there's so many different reasons for that. Definitely injuries is one. That's a big one. It's very hard to stay healthy. And if you're hurt, you're damaged goods, man. So you're gone, especially if you get hurt in camp. Number 2 is, playbook. A lot of guys can't pick it up, man. It's a big playbook. And you have to be able to learn pretty quick. And you also have to learn on your feet, man. In college, they pretty much could hold up a sign, right? You see the signs on the sideline. You're like, what the hell does that mean? Well, it tells the player exactly what he's doing. In the NFL, it's not like that. You walk up to the line, you have a quarterback like a Brady or a Peyton Manning. He's calling out one word on the line. In a split second, you have to know exactly what you're doing. So you have to be a pretty smart and intelligent person. And then also with that, play changes as the defense changes. So you could walk up to the line, it could be zone, you're reading zone, and the second they snap the ball, this guy blitzes and they go to man coverage, and all of a sudden, you're not running the same route that you were before. So there's so many different reasons that people don't make it. A lot of it is actually knowing the playbook. A lot of it's staying healthy. And then a lot of it's also financial reasons, man. Every year that you play, you get paid more. It's a minimum. So for me, I was going into my 4th year. My first year, I got paid $305. So for everyone who thinks you're a millionaire, playing in the NFL, it's not necessarily the case. There's actually only very few guys on the team making over $1 million per year.
Wow.
So I made $305 my first year. You take, agent fees. You have to pay the union, and then taxes, state taxes, and you also pay in every state that you play. So even though I was in Texas, I had to pay in every state I played in. But you take all that out, cost of living, and maybe I had $150 after my first year as a starting fullback for the Dallas Cowboys. So, but every year you get paid a little more. So second year I think was 405. Third year was 540 or something like that, and then the fourth year, it's even more. So as you continue to play, you become more expensive as well. And so, they're going to bring in a rookie if they can to replace you. And so that also makes it a challenge because they're constantly looking to save money, man. It's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're right. It is a business. And a buddy of mine, I think I saw him. He was on Mark Devine's podcast too, just like you were, Anthony Trucks. And he was on my show. I don't know if you're familiar with Anthony, but he said NFL stands for like not for long. It's kind of like a funny acronym, right? And I think it's really true because a lot of people on the outside, like fans, people like sitting on the couch watching TV, they don't get how much of a business the league really is, right? And it's like, they got to make money too. And, if you're not an asset to a team, I mean, you get cut, in a way, right? And a lot of people, it's easy for us to sit there and be like, wow, these guys are overpaid, millionaires or whatever people might say when they're talking about athletes. But they don't understand this is like a dream, right? So like you're growing up, you got your 4 brothers, right? And you all are pretty much all are athletes, but like was it your oldest that wasn't an athlete or was it your youngest that wasn't an athlete?
No, so we all played pro sports. The oldest brother just never played football.
Oh, that's what it was.
Man. He was scared. Yeah,
played baseball, right?
Yeah, he's a baseball player. Got drafted in the minors. And played. He got hurt, and he bounced around in the minor leagues for a while, but just wasn't a football player, man. I think he regrets it now, but at the time in high school, he was small. He was 6'2", 180 maybe, and he went the baseball route instead.
So, did you always know growing up that you were going to like play in the NFL? Was that a dream of yours, or just kind of just organically happened just through everything that happened with your family?
I mean, you'd probably say, well, first off, we didn't play football till high school, so it wasn't like we were like this football family, like we were playing Pop Warner and all that shit. We were, we were just athletes. We were because my parents couldn't handle us being inside all day. It was, you take 5 boys. You leave them inside in the house. All we did was fight, man. It was just all brawls nonstop. So it was like, all right, get the hell out of the house. Go outside. Play baseball. Do whatever you need to do to get that energy out. You guys are not sitting inside watching TV. So, just bring competition. You play against your brothers. You play against all their friends every day. And, it's going to be a battle. And it's going to be a challenge every day. And it's going to end in a fight as well. So, we took that and we put it into sports, and that's how that all came about. So the goal really wasn't, to make it to the NFL. I actually thought I had zero chance. All you get told every single year by your teachers and by everyone is, hey, this is a dream. Very, very few people make it. It's 1 in a million or whatever it is. Like, get your grades because it's probably not happening for you. And so you hear that over and over and over again. So for me, I was like, damn, man, I'm not even the best in my family. I'm not even the second best, man. Like, what the hell's, there's no way in hell I'm making it. So I went to school, and really my goal was, let's get to college and, get the best education possible. And I was lucky enough to get a last-minute scholarship offer to the University of Maryland and get to college for free at Division I. And from there, it was still the same goal, man. I ended up actually transferring, playing with Robert, Arizona, but at that point, it was, I was one of 2 football players in the business school, and it was, let's get an accounting degree because it's the hardest degree I could think of, right, so that I could leave it and make the most money possible. And then, along the way, I obviously was going to put my all into athletics as well. And when you have your brother on your team, it's going to be a competition between brothers no matter what. And, that just led to us pushing each other harder and harder and harder, and led to an opportunity where, scouts might have been coming in to see Rob, but they were also seeing me at the same time. And, they all of a sudden started asking about me a little bit too. So got that chance.
That's awesome. So you played at Maryland. My little brother actually went to Maryland. I'm from Baltimore, so I'm like College Park's like an hour from me, right?
Yeah, man.
Did you play for Friedgen? Was he there when you were there?
Yes, he was, man. So, yeah, Friedgen was the reason I left Maryland.
Oh.
So, I mean, he was a coach. I mean, man, he was just super old school, right?
Yeah.
You walk by him in the hallway, you say hi to him, he looks the other way. It's like, come on, man. But his mentality was next man up. Like, if you go down, he don't care. It's next man up mentality. Some of the hardest workouts you ever get put through. I mean, our winter workouts were at 5 a.m. and he would turn the gym to as hot as he possibly could in the middle of the winter. And then he just lined it up with garbage cans. And you're like, man, what are the garbage cans for? well, you were going to run until you threw up. So we're just going to do drills and do drills and do drills until like half the team threw up. And then, that'd be about an hour and a half. And then, you just dread the next week, man. You're just like, hey, are we really doing this again next week? And that was his mentality, man. He was just going to beat you down, and you were going to be the toughest dudes that were on the field. And man, we were tough. That's for damn sure. But it was a tough program to play in. And
I can imagine, because you remember it was a few years ago. It was Jordan McNair who played at Maryland. He died of heat stroke, right? And I just remember reading that and hearing that, and it was all over ESPN and everything. And you're like, wow, like it really like woke you up to how intense the training can be for football, and how sometimes like these coaches and trainers or whatever just push these kids to limits that don't even really need to be pushed to, in my opinion. Like I was saying before we recorded, I've been a trainer now for almost a decade. And I honestly have never been the guy that's like, yeah, I'm just going to push somebody till they puke. Like, what is that really? Are they really getting better? I mean, is that really like making or breaking them into a better human being? Or is that just like an ego thing to be like, wow, like I got that person to puke? And I'm not saying that there's not tough workouts where you're like hardcore on the assault bike or you're pushing the sled where you're like, man, like I'm going to puke, but it's not like anything that's like unorthodox. Right. So, one of the things I wanted to ask you was, when you're playing with Rob, did you ever just like look at him like and be like, God, he's going to freaking crush it in the league? Was there ever like a moment you kind of just had in your gut, you knew he was going to be like as good as he is?
And there was a moment when it was going into his junior year. So it was when he got hurt. It was spring ball. He was killing it, man. Absolutely killing it. No one could cover him. And I was going into my senior season. I'm like, man, this kid is going to kill it this year. And that's when he got hurt. So he ended up getting hurt lifting, I think it was squatting I think it was actually deadlifting because, and kind of going back to the ego thing in college, like, right, the strength coach has to have the strongest guy so he can brag to the other strength coaches about it. And also with college, man, like they're not responsible for you. So like, the NFL, they are. So when you get to the NFL, the training itself it's actually less intense and it's on you. So if you want to go that hard, you can, but they're also responsible for you. So if you get hurt, they're paying all your bills. They're paying all your medical bills. They're paying, after that as well. So until you're healthy again. So completely different mentality. Whereas in college, it was, we're going to do as much as we possibly can, because if you get hurt, they might pay for, your surgery. They might not even pay for that. They might just pay for your rehab and go to the next guy. And then you have to sit there and fight for it. So, man, that was a huge difference. But getting back, so playing with Rob, or what was the actual question?
Well, was there ever like a moment where you were like, looked at your brother and you're like, dude, he's going to freaking crush it in the NFL?
So that's when it was, man. So it was leading up to his junior year, and he was unstoppable. And I remember Mark Stoops at the time, Coach Jeremy Shockey, and he was like, man, like I've never seen a tight end like this though. And so, we probably would have won the Pac-10 that year if Rob was healthy. And the day he got hurt, man, the coaches, everyone was just, they were so bummed, because we had the squad. We had Nick Foles there at the time, and we had the team. And then once Rob went down, we still ended up having a really good year, but we just didn't get to the championship. And that would have been the turning point for us, would have been having Rob out there.
Yeah. And I got to imagine, I guess, from your perspective and your siblings, I mean, you see it a lot, right? Where, one of the brothers or one of the sisters like makes it and the others don't, even though they all play in the same sport. Did you ever have any kind of like jealousy or envy towards him? Or was it always like you were always kind of just super supportive? Because I mean, just from the looks of it, you guys look like you just freaking have fun with each other all the time. So I just didn't know if like, deep down you're like, man, like I wish I had like his talent, or I wish I was taller, or whatever it was.
Yeah, man, he's got 5 inches on me. So.
Yeah, I
know. No, back in the day, man, that's all it was, right? Like growing up, we were so competitive. If any of us got any more recognition than the other person, you were jealous, man. And so it would turn into a brawl. It would turn into talking trash, making fun of them. whatever you could. But as we grew up and we started playing together on the same teams, and you go through tough situations together, it really builds this bond. And you start, you help each other up and you build each other up on everything. And when you go through tough times like college, man, we're just grinding. And then, we go and train for the combine. He's hurt. He's trying to come back from it. He's 2 weeks out from pro day, and he can't even run yet. And you go through all these crazy situations. The bond is so tight at that point. And all you do after that is, you realize how hard you guys have worked to get there. And it's just all support at that time. So, for me, I didn't even think I had a chance. So for me to get 4 credited seasons in, get all the pension, the benefits, and all that was huge. And then once I was done, it wasn't like, man, I'm jealous of Rob. It was like, hell yeah, I get all the benefits still, and I'm not getting my ass whooped anymore on the field. So, I was able to, go to games and still get, go to all the parties and do everything because Rob was crushing it and still kind of get all those benefits while just chilling on the sidelines watching, man. So it was actually an amazing feeling. And, that's how it was, man. We're all just supporting him and his career at that point, going to the games. And that was kind of our family get-togethers every week.
Yeah, and you're right. I think when you go through hard times with people, it gives you an opportunity to grow together and develop an even more intimate and intense bond that at times cannot be broken. I mean, my brothers and I, we grew up with our parents getting split, and we created this almost inseparable bond between us. I mean, even though we all live different lives now, we all kind of still come back to each other when we need each other, right? And it looks like it's the same thing for you. And sometimes our biggest setbacks can become our biggest blessings, Chris. And I think for me, I was incarcerated on felony drug charges back in 2008. I thought my life was over. I had all these dreams that were shattered. I thought I was going to be an addict and a felon the rest of my life. And I ended up finding fitness when I was incarcerated, and it saved my life. And you just never really realize, in those darkest times, that something really amazing is going to come out of it. And for you, I know one of your biggest blessings was when your career ended in the NFL. And I'm sure in the moment, you're like, man, gosh, I can't believe I didn't make another year. I can't believe I didn't retire, X, Y, and Z. How did you make that transition from kind of the letdown of no longer being in the NFL to kind of, kickstarting into becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, man, that's the big situation, the toughest situation for everyone to get through. As an athlete, that's all that's all you've done for years. I mean, really since high school, some guys even before that. So that's your identity, man. That's all you know. That's all that's on your resume is athlete, and that's it. So once you leave the NFL, man, you also go from, this great paycheck to, maybe $60,000 a year if you're lucky. That's a pretty good starting wage for someone with no experience in an industry. So, man, it's tough. It's tough mentally as well to take that. And so a lot of guys struggle with it. It takes them years to fall into that position. But, like you said, it was almost a blessing in disguise. I got hurt in my 4th year. I took an injury settlement. Once you get hurt in camp and you're not a superstar player, you're pretty much damaged goods at that time. So they'll release you and they'll pay you out with what they call an injury settlement. So they'll pay you as long as they think you're going to be hurt for. So they paid me for 3 games, which led to a credited season. But it was really high ankle sprain that took me 3 months to recover from. So they got me pretty good on that. But I tried to come back, ran a 40-yard dash, and ruptured my hamstring on my 3rd step out. And it was either have surgery or just, give it up and go, on to the next phase of my life. So I always count that as my blessing, because guys try for so long to come back, and they spend years and years and they waste all this extra time fighting to come back into the league when it's probably not going to happen at that point. And people weren't knocking on my door. I had great opportunities, and, it wasn't like they were still there. So it was an easy transition for me, because my wife also started a business in my 3rd year, and she started it because she was sick of going out to job interviews every time I went to a new team. So 3 teams in 3 years, actually 4 teams. And then from college, it was actually 5, 5 moves in 5 years. And after the 3rd one, she's like, hell no, I'm not going out and finding a new job just so next year I could get another job. So she wanted to find a way to work from home, and she did. And she started hand painting wine glasses. And I saw it as like, this little hobby that's going nowhere, but pretty soon they started to sell, and she had to find a way to scale up, and she started to scale it up. And at that time I ended my first contract with the Broncos. So I was actually looking for a new team. So I had this little break, and I started looking into the business and realized that it was a huge opportunity. It was personalized gifts. The only one really doing it was things you remembered that you'd find in the mall. It was super expensive. It was long turnaround times. And, we had a way to do it fast, most of the time, same day, and do it for a lot cheaper just through online and through the Etsy platform and our own website. So started pouring money into it, putting the NFL money into commercial grade laser engravers and other machines to personalize gifts. And soon enough, it took off. I ended up signing with the Chargers. I was there for a couple months. I got hurt, and I had this to fall back on. So it wasn't too hard, and I just poured everything into it. So I went from, everything in football to, the long days, just right over to business and putting the long hours in with my wife's business. And did that for about 5 years until, man, I thought of the idea for Ice Shaker, which I eventually got onto Shark Tank and going into 4 years with now.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, man, because you see a lot of people transition out of the league and they lose themselves, right? Because that is your identity. It's all like from, y'all didn't start playing until you were in high school, but some kids start playing when they're like 5, 6 years old, and then they end up playing until, they retire from the NFL, and then they end up not knowing what to do with themselves. They put on a bunch of weight, right? A lot of them, become addicted to drugs, or they just don't ever really rediscover themselves. And it's inspiring that you not only kind of rediscovered yourself, but you created a business out of it, and you did it, also alongside of your family, and your wife has the entrepreneur spirit in her as well, it seems. And the one thing that I think is required before we get into talking more about Ice Shaker with being an entrepreneur is work ethic. And I think nobody can argue that, you have to have impeccable work ethic to be a professional athlete and an entrepreneur. So what are some things that you do or have done that have helped you develop like an unbeatable work ethic? Because I mean, I did see you say something along the lines like, I'm not the tallest, so I'm going to have to be the strongest. You said something like that, like in a quote of yours, right?
Heck yeah, man. No, that was the truth. I was a little short, fat one too, man. So my brothers would I was fat enough that my nipples when I was little would like go in. Like they were like covered.
Yeah,
me
too. Yeah. I get it.
So they would just rip on me. And, that led to me, going in the basement and working out every day. And, I might've been the shortest, but I had to have something, man. So, I would crush the weights. I think I still hold some high school records from that as well. But man, the work ethic, it really was just instilled with us from our parents, man. It was, my dad was an entrepreneur himself. He was working 2 jobs for 6 years to get his business off the ground. He's now, the second largest distributor of fitness equipment in the U.S. So we watched him, and, we watched my mom. She probably had more than a full-time job, raising 5 of us. And, every day she had this ridiculous calendar with 10 to 12, different events that she had to drive us to and get us ready for. But, everything had to be earned, and that's what our parents instilled in us. So, if you want something, awesome, find a way to get it, get that paper route. You're going to umpire games. I was working for my dad when I was 15, delivering treadmills in the inner city of Buffalo. So, if you wanted a car, great, save up your money, buy a car. You want to go to college? That's awesome. You're paying for it. Or, find a way to get a scholarship. And so that was always there. We always knew the value of a dollar. We knew what hard work was. And, when you get that instilled in you at an early age, it's great. You might not like it then, but it just becomes a part of you. And that's all you know. So I think my parents did a really good job with that. And then on top of that, my mom, she was always making sure we actually had our homework done and that we did our schoolwork, which I think was huge as well. It wasn't just go outside and play. It was actually get home, do your homework. It better be done. And then you could go outside and play. So we always had that aspect as well instilled into us. And so I think that also helps you, through school and through business as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to be said for like role models in your life. And I think your parents have a perfect opportunity to show through their actions, not just their words, on how to live, right? And I think there's so much to be said for you get what you earn. And I think no one's going to hand you anything. And I think so many people these days, Chris, are like waiting for people to hand them money. They're waiting for them waiting to be handed an opportunity. They're waiting for them to be handed, you know, a relationship or a job, whatever it is. And it never comes, because that's not how life works. It's not true. I mean, in an ideal world, of course, like if you're struggling and you just want to clap your hands 5 times and something appears, I mean, yeah, that'd be great. But at the same time, you don't get the lessons, you don't get the wisdom, you don't get the grit, because you didn't work for it. And so you don't appreciate it as much. So, you know, you pivot into entrepreneurship and you take this incredible work ethic of yours into pretty much being unbeatable and not giving up, and you start, you know, Ice Shaker. So what separates like Ice Shaker from the traditional like blender bottle, you know, shaker cups, that makes it different other than just keeping your shake cold?
Yeah, man. So it really came about as an idea for myself. And I'm in Texas now. And I was going to the gym. I was probably going to the gym twice a day. So I was just, man, that's my stress relief, right? That keeps me physically and mentally in shape. So I was going to the gym, it was super hot out. And by the time I got there, you know, my water was warm, I was sweating everywhere. It tasted awful. And I knew there had to be something better out there. So went home, looked for something. But you know, out of all the insulated bottles on the market, there was nothing that was just easy to fill, easy to clean, and then also, you know, with the ability to shake. So that was really the goal, man. Like, I wanted a bottle that I could use all day, every day, no matter where I went, instead of having to, you know, go home and grab a different shaker bottle just for the gym or just for a shake. I just wanted one. And then I wanted it to have the ability, you know, to blend as well. You know, I didn't want like this ridiculously small hole where I had to like, you know, use a funnel to get stuff in and, you know, use a certain brush to clean it. So I set out on this mission because I couldn't find it, and I just wanted to make the best bottle that I could for myself. So it is, you know, it's the classic shaker bottle, right? That you love, with easy open pop top. We added a handle on it that's super easy to hold. We put measurement markings inside of it, and then made it of a kitchen grade insulated stainless steel. So it's not going to absorb the odor like the plastic bottle does. It's actually made of the same material that, like, you know, your kitchen fork would be made of. And then we insulated it, so it will keep your drink hot or cold for an extended period of time, to whereas if you filled it with just ice, it would last over 30 hours before it all melted. And then the last thing we added was, you know, an agitator. And this really separated us, because the last thing we wanted to do was add a ball, right? The blender bottle ball. And you put one of those in a metal cup, and a metal ball in a metal cup is just the most annoying thing in the world. And so we had to find a way around that. So we added this agitator. What we found out really quick is that it doubled up for so many other things. So it actually act like a strainer. So when you're drinking a bunch of ice out of an insulated cup, it clogs the spout and you don't get any water out. So this actually stops that from happening. It's silent when you shake it. It breaks up the protein. But it also, you know, that strainer function as well, it works really well for people that like to party. So it actually turns into, like, you know, an actual cocktail shaker too. It strains the ice out from when you're pouring it or anything else like that. And then last but not least, we get a lot of customers that will actually use it as a fruit infuser as well.
That's amazing, man. It's such a great concept. And it's so, like, it's funny. Like I was saying before we recorded, I was like, man, you see these ideas, you're like, man, I should have thought of that. It was so easy, yet, you know, so needed, right? Is like having an authentically, like, pure and clean shaker bottle, right? Because I know from me, from using the old school blender bottles at the gym, like, that's the worst, is like, where's the blender ball? Can I leave it in my car for like an hour without the protein like stinking up the bottle and stinking up my car? Like, can I put water in it? Like, how do I like transition and make this like a more than just like a protein shake cup? You know what I mean? That you're just walking around with. And I love the idea. I love what you did. I saw the episode on Shark Tank. So how did that all come about? Was it through relationships, or was it random? Like, how did that work for you all to get on Shark Tank?
Man, it was epic, man. I think it was a 4-year-old email is what it came down to. When I was playing with the Broncos in 2012, we'll get emails from our agent from just different people reaching out, and it'll be like this mass email to every one of his players. And so, I wouldn't really read them, but this one came through and it was like, hey, opportunity to go on ABC Shark Tank. They're looking for former, current or former athletes to come on the show. And, I saw it. I had absolutely nothing, to present at that time, but I loved the show. And I just started, man. I saved it. And I was like, man, one day I'm going to think of this sweet idea. I'm going to hit them back. And so that day didn't come for, I think it was 4 or 5, maybe 5 years later. I hit this email back thinking like, they're actually going to still be there and like answer it. Right. So I shot it back and the girl was like, I don't work here anymore. But within like 5 minutes, she emailed me back again and was like, hey, I actually found the girl that does, and here's her email. And so she connected me. I sent it over. She sent her over the idea, and they just asked for a video submission. So sent over this video. They asked, they kind of told me what needed to be on it, but I knew it was kind of like this one shot, one opportunity kind of thing. Like I need to make this good. So I made it as entertaining as I possibly could, and with my own editing skills, like which was none. But just put together some clips of me like ripping off my shirt, like working out, showing some touchdown passes. I threw Rob in there. I'm like, you got to get in on this video for a second, and sent it in. And it was pretty entertaining. And I wish I still had it because people ask me all the time, but I didn't even know how to use YouTube at the time. So I asked, I think my brother to put it on his YouTube channel, and you have to use it as like an unlisted YouTube video. And so submitted it and just waited for it to be watched to see if someone watched it or not. And a couple of days later, I saw, like 5 or 6 people watched it, and just sat by my phone waiting. Got the call back, and they were like, "That was awesome. Yeah, that was a great video." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, sweet." I knew it was going to be either awesome or the worst video ever. So they liked it, and they said they wanted to move forward. So I got the opportunity. Months later, paperwork later, background, checks, all that stuff. I was able to go and actually pitch on the show.
Yeah, that was an epic video. Like just watching you come out first, and then you're like, I got other people here to support me, and you bring, your brothers on there, and it was freaking funny to watch. And
yeah, man,
it was like a comedy show. It was so entertaining to watch. And then like you actually get them to invest, right? You got what, A-Rod and Cuban both invested, right? They give you like 150 grand.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I went from being like looking kind of swole and big on the show to having my 4 brothers run out, and like I was a small guy on stage.
You're like, wait, should I have done it? Should I have really done that?
It was epic. So we played them in Flip Cup.
Yeah, so
man, having it just lightened up the room as well, man. But yeah, we were able to get all 5 of Sharks to make an offer, and then blocked up the deal with Mark Cuban and Alex Rodriguez, and it was beast mode, man. It was, MLB, NBA, and NFL all kind of coming together. And that was exactly what I was looking for.
That's incredible, man. It just shows that with hard work, dedication, and inspiration, some amazing things can happen. Like you literally took, it's just funny because it started with like, really, if you look back, like your wife painting wine glasses, right?
Yeah.
And then like, you're like, wow, like I'm going to like get down with some of this like engraving material myself. So you start building relationships there. And then you combine that with your passion for now, working out and fitness. And you're like, man, like I see a need here with a shaker bottle. And then you create something out of that. And then like, it just all comes together, and you're on the show that is, the biggest entrepreneur show in the world. And not only are you on there, you do what a lot of people don't do, and you end up selling the Sharks on an idea, right, that they bought into and invested some money in it. And I think, a lot of people are sitting back and being like, well, he just got that because of his family name and everything. But really, like from hearing what you said, you got that because you worked at it, and because of you not being a victim when you left the league and being like, you know what, like my career here is over, but my life isn't over. I'm going to find a new identity as an entrepreneur. I'm going to use that business background I have and my skills as somebody who has developed this incredible, dedication and determination and drive to be an NFL athlete, to now do the same as an entrepreneur. So what have been some of the hardest challenges that you faced with the company, and what are you doing to get through them?
Yeah, man. So you hit it right on, man, because that's what a lot of people say, like, oh, it was just handed to you kind of deal, right? nothing's handed to you. And even with how simple the idea is, and people are like, wow, that's so smart. Like, I can't believe no one did that. Man, it was an absolute grind to get those first couple sales. Even with the following or the family name, whatever it was, no one cares. If it's something that they've never heard of before, they're not going to trust it. They're not just going to buy it because you created something. So it's difficult to sell. I mean, the first week, I think I've sold like 2 of them. And I was like, man, like, I got to figure something out really quick or this is going nowhere, because I just ordered 5,000 of them and they're sitting in the upstairs in my house, and my wife's going to kill me if they sit there for the next 6 months. So, man, that's when the grind started. That's really what started it. And, man, the tough times to get through those, the first tough time was, the first 5,000 that we got, over half of them, just by literally filling them up and holding them upside down, they leak. And so after like 20 different prototypes and all these different seals, and like everything had to be perfect, we get the first batch in, and somehow the pop top on them, they were made in pairs of 2 or something like that. And one of them was messed up and it didn't seal correctly. So you couldn't tell by looking at it. You literally had to change out every single lid. And I had to go back and changing out 5,000 upstairs to your house, man, it sucks. And just that was months of work. After work, I'd come home and I'd just sit there and change out lids, repackage it, make sure it looked perfect. There's no streaks on it. I mean, stainless steel, if you touch it, especially if your hands are greasy, man, it marks it. So, I wanted to make sure each and every bottle that was going out was perfect. And that was kind of that very first process that, if I didn't absolutely love this and have passion for this product, I would have gave up, man, because that was a lot. That sucked. I didn't need it either. That's what I don't think people realize either, is like, I didn't need to start this other company at all. The wife's business was crushing. We were making a lot of money. We were very well off between that and NFL money. And I did this just because I wanted to. I did it because it was my passion. So anyone that says, he was just, it was just handed to him, is lucky and all that, it just wasn't the case at all. It took a ton of hard work to get it off the ground. Before I even reached out to Shark Tank, the first 3 months, we were about at 30,000 in sales. That was before I reached out. I wanted to have some kind of proof of concept before I even talked to him. And then once we finally got on at 6 months, we were at 80,000 in sales. And Shark Tank, it did what they say it does. And we went from that 80,000 to, we did over 3 million in the next 12 months, and it exploded. So, that was huge. So to get on the show was definitely a blessing. And I definitely had help with the family name for that. But all the other work leading up to that, man, that was just straight up hustle.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, nothing's handed to you in life. And I think the people that think that it was, or the people that are just still waiting around wishing they would put in the work to get after what they want. I mean, not everyone has the athletic ability to be a professional athlete, right? But everybody has the ability to give it their best at whatever they're great at and improve. And I think the one thing that I love talking to people about on here is, you just brought up like a good point. Like, when you're going through times where you're of uncertainty and you don't know if you're going to make it, like you said, you barely sold any products at the beginning. Before we recorded, you said you had a following and made a post and didn't sell 1 bottle, right? So what are some staples in your routine, Chris, that you stick to on a daily basis or weekly basis that kind of keep you grounded for, when times get stressful?
Man, that's the workout, man.
I know, right?
That's definitely the gym. For me, I mean, it's pretty much an everyday thing. It's almost a problem because, before COVID hit, I was going literally 7 days a week to the gym. But that's helped me a lot, man. I think physically, but mentally even more, because for me, especially in tough times, man, I just have to accomplish something. And for me to get to the gym in the morning and accomplish something, feel good about myself, I'm ready for the day. And also, man, when you push yourself hard, nothing else is hard the rest of the day, man. So you go in the gym and like, man, you're going hard, to get on a phone call and have a conversation with someone isn't that difficult anymore, man. To go, unload some boxes, whatever it is, man, I'm fired up. Like, I'm ready to go. So I've always been a huge fan of hitting the gym to get the stress levels down, man. So COVID switched that up a little bit, but I still found ways to get it done at home because it just has to be done for me.
Yeah, I mean, fitness has that unique power, right, to not only impact us physically, but mentally and emotionally as well, right? Channeling that negative crap that we carry within us, sometimes into something that is powerful and positive and can actually make you feel better as soon as you do it. I mean, there's never anybody that goes and lifts or works out and is like, gosh, I wish I wouldn't have worked out today. I mean, granted, there's maybe some like, very rare cases where someone like tears something, but
Yeah.
I would say like 99% of the time people are like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that I did it. I mean, I know just yesterday I had went for a run in the morning and I was like, which I know you said you've been getting more into running lately, right? So, and I know for me, I was like, I need to like do some like strength stuff. So at like 8:00 at night, I go to a local playground here and I bang out like a couple hundred pull-ups because I was just like, I need to do something. And afterwards, I was like, gosh, I'm so thankful that I did that. Like I was like concerned. I was like, am I going to be able to sleep? What am I going to eat? Like, but then you do it and you're like, you know what? Like I'll figure it out. And it's just, you're so grateful that, you were able to kind of, make the sacrifice and do things that you don't really want to do, because that's how you build, fortitude. That's how you build grit. That's how you build self-confidence, is doing the things that you should be doing on a regular basis. And, the last question I want to ask you is this, is you've gone through a lot, man. So you've gone through a lot as an athlete, you've gone through a lot in your family, you've gone through a lot as an entrepreneur, now having your own family with your wife and everything in Texas. Like, what would you tell like young Gronk at, young Chris Gronk at like age 12, if you're looking back and talking to him now?
Man, that's a lot for sure, man. For me, I would say, man, just be confident, man, and be who you are. I think that's huge. I think one of the things is that, man, confidence, there's so much strength in confidence.
Yeah.
And people don't realize that, but, it comes off maybe as cocky or whatever, but you have to have confidence in yourself, and it can't be fake. You have to believe it. And, being, suppose, the shortest, the smallest, the slowest or whatever it was in the family, I just never believed that I could get to that next level. Teachers just constantly would say, get your grades because it's probably not happening for you. And so the confidence level was really never there until I finally built it up in myself. And, people started coming in and saying, hey, you do have a chance. And that's when things started to change. But until then, it was, I pretty much have given up on that dream, or even that ability to go to the next level, just because I was told so many times that it wasn't there. So for me, it would be, if I could, I would go back and just say, hey man, be you, you're a beast, have the confidence, because you're going to do great things.
It's amazing, man. You're absolutely right. I think it all starts in the mind. It all starts with the way you talk to yourself, because, the way you talk to yourself then becomes the way you act, and the way you act and becomes who you are as a person, right? And I think if you're constantly telling yourself, oh, like you're too small, you're too fat, you're too weak, like you're not going to make it. But if you tell yourself, you know what, like you might be the smallest, you might not be in the best shape right now, but we're going to get you in the best damn shape you can get to. So that way, at least gives you an opportunity and a chance, like, to be that person you wanted to be. So, man, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on here. Where can people find out more about the Ice Shaker, what you got going on? I know you got the Gronked Up podcast too. So just where can people find out more about you?
Man, we're everywhere. So, man, for real, I was just watching our YouTube channel this morning. So we launched a channel with all 5 brothers at youtube.com/the Gronks. But one of the videos just took off. It's trivia, man. It's pretty funny, but we don't know that much about pop culture. So some of the questions got really interesting. But check me out at Chris Gronkowski, Twitter, Instagram, everywhere, TikTok, man. I'm on it all. And then, iceshaker.com, and then at iceshakerbottle on all the social handles as well. And then last but not least, Gronked Up podcast. So anywhere you can listen to podcasts, I'm on there as well. And yeah, man, it's been good.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. And yeah, I mean, those that are listening, you're going to get a lot out of this episode, just from a standpoint of just not giving up, not quitting, and knowing there's so much adversity that Chris hit between, not really being the best athlete in the family and having a guy, that he was competing with as a kid go on to be like one of the most, accomplished professional athletes ever, right? And then also being that person that, loved football and loved sports, and then ending up having his career kind of end, and then having to really pivot hard and decide. He could have made a choice to just throw in the towel and be like, you know what, like, screw it. I'm going to eat, Doritos, and I'm going to eat cheesesteaks, and I'm just going to get fat and not care anymore because my career is over. But he pivoted hard and, made some really tough decisions and put in a lot of hard work to get to where he is with the Ice Shaker Company and the podcast and everything he's now doing with his brothers. So I invite people to just share the episode, tag Chris, tag Ice Shaker, tag myself with your biggest takeaway, whether it was something he talked about how he overcame adversity, whether it was something that he talked about was being an entrepreneur, the NFL, whatever it was. We appreciate your support. And once again, we thank you for listening to this episode of The Adversity Advantage. I'm your host, Doug Bopst, and we will see you next time.